It's the King of the Hill theory. So this theory is called Arlen is the feeding ground of an ancient Eldritch horror. Arlen, Texas seems like a quiet, ordinary town, but it hides an ancient, unspeakable horror that has been feeding on its residents for generations. The people of Arlen are unknowingly part of a horrific cycle, slowly being consumed by an eldritch entity that lurks beneath the town, an ancient godlike being that feeds on human despair, madness, and flesh. The Eldritch Entity. Deep beneath the soil of Arlen, there exists a primordial being, an ancient god that predates human civilization. Its presence warps reality and the minds of those who live above it. The entity is not a sentient creature in the traditional sense, but more of a malevolent force, a pulsating, amorphous mass of shifting flesh, tentacles, and eyes that can never be fully seen or understood. It feeds on the misery and hopelessness of the people of Arlen, subtly manipulating their lives to generate as much as despair as possible before consuming them. Hank Hill, the unwilling servant. Hank is more than just a man obsessed with propane and lawn care. He is unknowingly the key to the entity's survival. The town of Arlen is the heart of this ancient being's feeding grounds, and Hank is his chosen vessel. Over the years, the entity has slowly been warping Hank's mind, making him obsess over trivial things like propane, grilling, and his lawn. These obsessions distract him from the growing horror beneath his feet. Every time Hank fires up his grill, the entity feeds on the energy produced by his mindless routines. But Hank is beginning to see the cracks in reality. Lately, he's been waking up in the middle of the night, hearing something moving under the house, and he convinces himself it's nothing. But each time the sound gets louder and it feels closer, like something is watching him. Peggy Hill, the puppet of the void. Peggy, driven by her self-delusions, is the entity's favorite toy. Over the years, her mind has been twisted into believing that she is the most intelligent, capable person in the world. But this delusion isn't random, it's been planted by the Eldritch horror. The entity keeps her mind distracted and making her obsess over meaningless achievements like substituting at the local school or her terrible Spanish lessons. What she doesn't know is that every time she tries to teach something, her mind is slowly unraveling, becoming more detached from reality. At night, she dreams of dark tendrils creeping into her room, wrapping around her limbs, slowly pulling her into a cold, dark abyss. When she wakes up, she convinced herself it was nothing, a trick of the mind, but the darkness in her dreams feels more real each night. Bobby Hill, the Harvested. Bobby is the entity's ultimate sacrifice. Unlike Hank, who is being worn down through the routine, and Peggy, who is blinded by her delusions, Bobby is the most aware. He senses that something is wrong with Arlen, with his family, and with himself. His quirky sense of humor and odd behaviors are his attempts to fight back against the creeping dread he feels. As Bobby approaches adulthood, the entity begins to prepare him for harvest. Bobby starts seeing things, shadows in the corners of his room, shapes moving under the floorboards, whispers in the walls, and one night he finds his room covered in cryptic symbols, spirals, eyes, and jagged lines that seem to pulse with a life of their own. He tries to tell his parents, but Hank brushes it off as boy stuff, and Peggy accuses him of seeking attention. In the final stage of his torment, Bobby begins having visions, glimpses of the entity beneath the town. He sees the creature for what it truly is, an enormous, writhing mass of flesh and tentacles. Its many eyes watching him from the shadows. It whispers his name, calling him to join it. The more he resists, the more it takes from him. His mind starts to fragment, his body grows weak, and the entity begins to consume his every essence. Dale Gribble, the Prophet of Doom. Dale's conspiracy theories have always been played for laughs, but what if he was right all along? Dale has been aware of the eldritch horror beneath Arlen for years. The entity has tried to drive him insane, but his paranoia and survivalist instincts have kept him one step ahead of total madness. He's seen the signs, the strange disappearances, the unnatural fog that sometimes rolls through Arlen, the unusual behavior of his friends. Dale's attempts to warn the others have been ignored. He knows that the government is not in control of the entity, It's been using the town as its personal feeding ground, manipulating reality to keep everyone in check. He's constructed a massive underground bunker filled with weapons, notes, and maps of the town, trying to find a way to stop it. But Dale's time is running out. The entity is getting stronger and his mind is cracking. He begins having hallucinations of shadowy figures stalking him, their bodies twisted and contorted, their faces covered in eyes. They whisper to him, telling him it is too late, that Arlen belongs to the Dark God, and soon, so will he. Bill Dauterive, the Husk. Bill is already half consumed by the entity. He was once a promising soldier, but the entity has been feeding off his self-pity, loneliness, and despair for years. Bill is now nothing more than the shell of a man, a walking corpse. His flesh is beginning to rot, but no one seems to notice. His skin is gray and sagging, his eyes are sunken, and his body slowly being devoured from the inside out. At night, Bill sits in his decaying house, staring blankly at the wall as tentacles slither around his skin, feeding on what little life remains in him. Soon, Bill will be fully consumed, his body hollowed out, left to rot while the entity moves on to his next victim. Boomhauer, the silent witness. Boomhauer knows what's happening. He's always known. His seemingly incomprehensible speech is a defense mechanism. He has seen the entity's true form and understands the terrible fate that awaits everyone in Arlen, but he's unable to communicate it clearly because his mind has been partially warped by the creature. Boomhauer has tried to warn Hank, Dale, and the others, but his words come out as gibberish, leaving him isolated in his knowledge. He spends his nights wandering the town, seeing the cracks in reality, the flickering lights, the unnatural shadows, the glimpses of the horror beneath the surface. He knows that soon the entity will claim them all. There's nothing he can do to stop it. The final revolution. Arlen sacrificed. In the last horrifying twist, the townspeople of Arlen begin to disappear, slowly at first, then more rapidly. No one notices because reality itself is being warped by the entity. Hank wakes up one morning to find the streets empty, the house is abandoned, the air thick with unnatural fog. In the series finale, Hank descends into the earth beneath stricken propane, where the ground seems to pulse with a flesh-like texture. He is drawn deeper and deeper into the heart of the entity, where he finally sees his true form, an incomprehensible, writhing, massive teeth, eyes, and tentacles feasting on the souls of Arlen's residents. As Hank stares into the abyss, he realizes the horrifying truth. Arlen has always been a sacrifice, a town built on the bones of ancient rituals, where the people are born, live, and die only to be this ancient, insatiable god. Hank was never in control of his life. Every choice, every action, every moment of his existence was orchestrated to feed the entity. In the final scene, Hank is absorbed into the creature, becoming part of the endless cycle of horror. The camera zooms out to show the quiet, unassuming streets of Arlen. As if nothing ever happened, a new family moves in, unknown where they are next, the cycle begins again.